I would imagine you just would never get tired of this.
No,
You
as long
know.
as they don't get tired of me.
Yeah. Well, and you've been doing this for so long.
I have. I did my first record date when I was 15 and took 2 guitar solos and got paid. I said, "Bud, this is great. I want to be in this business."
You
all of
were
a sudden."
hooked.
That was it.
That's all it took. And I would imagine back then, do you remember how much you got paid for doing those 2 songs?
$15 a side.
Interesting.
For a kid in high school, couldn't even drive yet. That was pretty cool.
Heck yeah. That'll impress the girls, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Got the guitar and cash in my pocket. Yep.
That's it.
You were all set.
That is true.
What were those solos that you did for whom?
A record called "I'm Gone" by Vic Gallen. Somebody put it up on YouTube, so someone has it.
Oh,
Yes, so it's out there.
interesting. Don't you love, all this YouTube and everything, with the internet, you can go back and, gems just pop up that you've never even realized someone
Once you
recorded.
play the first note in any kind of place where they can record it, it's out there. Forget
Yeah.
about it.
Oh my gosh.
It's out there.
Love it, love it.
Yep.
So, but it's cool. You can go back and look at that. When you look at that, do you think, "Wow, I've come a long way," or "Wow, what do you think when you see something like that?
It's a point in time. It's a musical point in time. And then, doing a lot of record dates, when you make a record, that's a point in time. At Motown, we sat down in front of a arrangement we never saw before, read the chart correctly, and our job was to play one song an hour with no mistakes and make them hits. So we did that all day long.
Simple as that.
Yep, that was it.
Which, many people around here know Dennis Coffey as one of the Funk Brothers, which was the backup band for Motown. Many, many hits. So,
Yep.
and you did that. You weren't one of the first ones, but you, shortly after they got started, you joined the band.
Yeah, I was over there at 60 and 68, but then I would do all the Motown stuff, double sessions every day, and then I would do Holland Dozier and Holland, Hot Waxing and Vixus at night. Then I'd go down to Muscle Shoals with Wilson Pickett, and then I'd work with the Dramatics at United, so we had a lot of fun.
Wow. Nonstop.
Yep, nonstop. And then I was out in L.A. working for Motown as well, Mo West, when I lived in L.A., and I was playing with Ringo and everybody out there, so it was a whole other thing.
Wow. That's amazing. So you really didn't need to practice because you were playing so darn many times.
Yeah, yeah, I was playing day and night.
Yes.
I loved it. It was good.
Did you learn guitar? Were you trained by someone? Did you take lessons or learn on your own?
I had a couple of cousins up in the Upper Peninsula that were playing country, and they gave me a few tips. And when I came back, that was it. I was possessed. So I would go to guitar teachers, and we had to learn rock and roll off the radio because it was so new.
Yeah.
And then I got to meet Wes Montgomery and hang out with him. And Joe Pass, I used to go over his house all the time. So Joe, one day when Ella was performing, I went backstage. So Joe, being the jokester, he introduces me to Ella Fitzgerald as a disco kid. And the look on her face was priceless.
Well, you must have over the years met a lot of people. And,
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quincy Jones and all. Yeah, absolutely. So I had a lot of fun, and especially in L.A., work with everybody out there, and then everybody here. And the whole Motown thing was amazing what happened over there.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to get to some of that, to talk about that more.
Okay.
But I just want to mention that you are here because you're with the Jazz Festival, which
Yes, I'll be
is this
doing
the
that.
40th year this year? 40th year Jazz Fest. It happens in Labor Day. Big event here in the Detroit area, or downtown Detroit, actually. So you are on the lineup for that.
I'm on the lineup, and also I have a new album out on Detroit Music Factory, which is part of Mack Avenue. So
Okay, cool.
tied into all that. So eventually I'll go back and play the Dirty Dog, and there you go.
Well, I tell you what, how about we hear a song,
Okay.
and then we're going to talk to Chris, who is
Okay.
part of the Jazz Fest, just to
Okay.
get some more details on that.
All right.
Sound good?
Sure,
Sound like a plan,
yeah.
guys?
Sure. You guys
All right.
want to do Summertime? 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was good.
Thank you.
Love it, love it. What's the name of that tune?
Summertime.
Summertime. Ah, and this is your trio, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Introduce the guys.
Jalo Jacquete on drums and Sean McDonald on keyboards.
Awesome. And this will be the three of you will be playing for the Jazz Fest.
Yes, and we're at Northern Lights every Tuesday night.
Oh, okay. Awesome. And where's that at? I forget.
It's on Baltimore between 2nd and 3rd. I've been there for 11 years. So.
They like you. They keep inviting you back, right?
And they pay me, I play. That's
There
how
you
it
go.
works.
Yeah. That seems to be what gets him going here.
It's a business.
Exactly, the business, music business. So I want to talk to Chris real quick. Chris, you are the president, artistic director of the Jazz Festival.
That's right.
And you, how long have you been doing that? Had that position?
I'm president since 2015, artistic director since the end of 2011.
Okay. And this is the 40th year?
40th year.
Unreal.
It's our 40th, and it's our reunion year. So we're bringing back 6 of our past artists in residence, including Stanley Clark and Pat Metheny and Terrence Blanchard, Josh Redmond, Danilo Perez, and
Big names.
Yeah, it's really special. And along with the headliners, there's Macy Gray, Joe Lovano, the Cats. There's a long tradition in 40 years of the festival of not only keeping it completely free over the 4 days of Labor Day weekend, but also really honoring the legacy of Detroit. And we're listening to a legend.
Oh my
here,
gosh, legend in our presence.
For all of us musicians that grew up in Detroit, the cats that brought together the jazz elements and the blues elements and the pop elements that went into creating not only Motown but so much of the Detroit sound loomed heavy, and it speaks to what is the Detroit sound, and we're hearing it here. It's a blend of jazz, respect for bebop and that language, but also respect for rhythm and blues and elements that take us to another place.
Okay, and this happens Labor Day.
So it's Labor Day weekend. It's the opening night is Friday, the 30th of August through September 2nd, Labor Day itself, and it attracts 325,000 people to the city of Detroit. It is completely free, one of the only in the world, and it is completely jazz. It is a true jazz festival. It is not a mix of musics and things, and we have to really give thanks. There's the incredible angel of Gretchen Valade who stepped up and really saved the festival 10 years ago with major support, and she continues that. Along with our presenting sponsor, Quicken Loans, and many others, and also the Detroit Jazz Festival Foundation, which is the overlying organization that produces the festival.
Well, someone has to pay
work
for
hard.
it,
Yeah, to keep it free, and you
amazing.
would be amazed. It's would be thousands of dollars to go see these shows if you wanted to go see them separately.
That is so cool that they do that. And Dennis, the trio is on what day?
Dennis, you probably remember better than me.
I think it's August 30th, I believe.
Oh, the first night.
Yes.
31st, Saturday.
Saturday.
31st, the second night.
Second night,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. It'll be
Okay.
a wonderful hit, very special.
Yeah.
So happy to have you, Dennis.
Well,
I think it's the
glad to be
first
there.
time in recent history
Yes.
we've had you down there and
Appreciate
doing your
that.
jazz thing, which, we appreciate you, man. You mean a lot to me, man.
Well,
don't
we're going
get
to have a
hang
good
out.
time with it.
It's gonna be
Got a love
special.
fest going here.
Always.
That's really cool. So so it's going to be a great event, and wanted to have Dennis in here, to help let people know that there's going to be some amazing artists there, as we've heard just so far today.
Right from our backyard.
Which is just amazing too. That you always pull in a few national artists, but there's so much good talent here that.
Very special stuff, yeah.
Well, thanks. I wanted you to just come in and just give a quick.
Thanks. Well, it's my
more
pleasure.
than I can do.
and
It's
great
easier
to hear the cats, and we welcome everyone down there. Good
Yeah.
food and good family environment. It's a really beautiful, celebration of a
Yes.
music that's near and dear to every Detroiter's heart.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Pam.
Chris.
A
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Collins.
guys.
Chris
Thank you.
Collins from the Jazz Festival. So he's going to scoot out of here. So it's all you, Dennis. So.
Want us to do another song? Is that the idea?
Well, no, I just want to ask you a few more questions, if
okay,
that's
all right,
okay. We're just going to talk about, all
right,
this
sure.
music you've been doing and,
Okay.
all the fun
New
stuff.
CD, of course.
Yes, and I was looking for the song you just played. It's not on this one, is
No.
it? No. Okay, this is your brand new CD. It's called Down by the River.
Yes.
Great photo of you on here, too.
Yeah, it
By
was
the
pretty
way.
cold that day. That was in the wintertime down at the Belle Isle Bridge. I was
Ah,
dying.
okay. You don't look too cold, so this is all new stuff. When did this come out? Just this year?
Yeah, they're all jazz standards on that. I just
Okay.
figured that would be a good approach
Oh.
because sometimes I'll do an album and write all the songs. So this time I figured I'd do the standards.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Now, is jazz, as Chris kind of alluded to, jazz is the base of a lot of things, you know,
Sure,
the blues,
sure.
the whatever. And that wasn't really your first love, was it?
You know what? I was playing jazz with Lyman Woodard and Melvin Davis, starting at the Frolic Show Bar in '68.
Wow.
And then we ended up playing at Maury Baker's Lounge, and we would do, some R&B stuff, and we'd do some swing and bebop and jazz and everything. So I was doing it back then. And again, I studied, listened to, everybody. Like I say, I got to know Wes Montgomery, and I got to know Joe Pass. I used to go over to his house and study with him and try and, figure out what was going on in the jazz realm. So I've always been a fan of it, and like I say, I used to go to hear Wes Montgomery at the Drome Lounge, and I used to sit in front of him when he came to town. Every night I'd be there, and then I got to know him, and we'd have a few beers together around the breaks and stuff. So I was always into it. He was my first guitar hero, I think, as far as from a jazz standpoint,
Okay.
with Wes Montgomery. He was an amazing player.
I would have, did he teach you anything, or you just talked to him? And
I just talked to him and
Okay.
watched him play, and it was just he was so lyrical and everything, the way he played, and he did the octave thing and everything. So he was just the master guy. He's just an excellent player.
And you're such a great guitarist. I mean, I would imagine just watching him, you would pick up on some things.
Well, yeah. I remember one time I was watching him play, and he heard something in his head, and he ran off the neck of the guitar because there wasn't enough notes on the guitar, and he just laughed
Oh, my
and
goodness.
started again.
That's funny.
Yep.
True musician, just
Well, you keep going, you
keep
keep
going,
playing.
yeah.
I was playing with Barbara Streisand with a 60-piece orchestra, and I broke a string, and the way we were on my acoustic, well, you play in the other 5 strings. I mean, that's what you do.
that's not unusual.
Nope. Mm-mm.
It's not like you stop the show. Excuse me, Barbara, you got to
Yeah,
stop
there you
singing.
go. That'd have gone over
Yeah,
real
right.
well.
Yeah, really.
And then when I was out in L.A., I was doing sessions for Motown, and they were paying me union scale and a half out there. And I got a call from Ben Barrett. He was the contractor, and he said, we want you to play a show with the Jackson 5. I think it was that night. And I had just done Streisand the week before, and I says, when do we rehearse? And they said, well, they fired the guitar player at rehearsal, so you don't get to rehearse. And I said, oh, no. And they said, well, we're paying you scale and a half, and we want you to do it. So I had to do the whole show with the Jackson 5, and Michael and Janet were also in there. Janet was real small then.
Yeah.
But I remember at the studio at Motown at Hitsville when the Jackson 5 first came in there to see what we were doing, and Michael was a small kid then. you know.
Yeah.
It was just amazing that, who figured out, being a superstar and everything.
Did they check it out to see if they wanted to be part of it, or just they were already?
They wanted to see what we were doing as Funk Brothers. And then his dad, was it Joe Jackson?
Yes.
He was looking at all these pedals I was using. And so I directed him to a friend of mine, Joe Podorsic, owned Capitol Music, and I said, that's where I bought my pedals and stuff. So he took notes on all the gear, and he went over there and bought a bunch of stuff for them, for their band.
Well, didn't you bring in the wah-wah
I brought the wah-wah pedal in. The first session I did at Motown was Cloud 9, and I brought in the wah-wah pedal. I think it's the first time it was used on an R&B record.
Did they all kind of look around like, what is this?
Yeah, some of them did, yeah. So they were giving me the funny
stupid-
looks.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from a guy was playing tambourine there, and he said, you should have seen the way the guys were looking at you when you were playing that wah-wah pedal thing.
But it's stuck. I mean, you
Oh, yeah.
can definitely hear it on several of the tunes.
Absolutely.
So you credit you're due to you, Dennis, right?
Well, yeah, not only that, I brought the Echoplex and
Oh,
like
yes.
Ball of Confusion. You can hear me doing the Echoplex thing on that introduction with the fuzz tone. We didn't do any overdubs at Motown, the Funk Brothers. Everything you hear on those records, the rhythm section did right then and there. We didn't do overdubs. So
Yeah.
whatever you got, one song an hour, when, just my imagination, I created an intro right on the fly when we were reading the charts, and bam, one song an hour. That's what we did.
That's still, and I've heard that so many times, and it still just blows me away. It's like one song an hour,
And make them hits, and no mistakes.
yeah,
They
that's
got to
the
stop
thing.
the tape. You don't have cut and paste and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, first of all, to do that, they know they have to have some pretty darn good musicians in
Oh,
there.
yeah, absolutely.
That's the key,
Mhm.
and they didn't have just like you weren't just the only guitar player, so
Right,
they had
yeah.
people they can
Yeah, they had
move
Joe
around.
Messina and myself, and I think they also we had Robert White, and Eddie Willis. That was the
Yeah.
main guitar section that we had. Three guitars usually each session.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And I mean, and you made a decision early on. There was two options: Motown or is it Holmes? Greg Holmes? No,
Oh, you're talking about Groove Holmes.
Groove Home. Thank you.
Yeah, he wanted to take me on the road with him.
Yes.
And so I said, well, I can't do that. I was raising kids by myself anyways, and I was working at doing sessions at Motown and stuff. And I told him I couldn't do that. And when I was, Atlantic flew me down to Miami to do some sessions, and Jerry Wexler wanted to hire me for Atlantic, but things were so busy up here. I said, he gave me a figure. I said, you don't have enough money to hire me to move down here. We're making plenty of money up here with Holland Dozier and Holland
Yeah.
stuff and all the Motown stuff and everything.
And just what happens when you had an hour to do this song? What happens at the end of the hour? You don't have a song. Then what?
There's no then what. You do that. That's your job. There's a written arrangement. You have to play
Okay.
the arrangement, and the producer and arranger are the only two in the session.
Oh, okay.
And if they're happy with what we're doing, that's what we did. It was union scale, so you had to get about one song an hour for a 3-hour session, and that's what we usually did.
It was like a music machine.
Well, we did it every day, so we got real good at it.
Yeah. And I mean, so many hits out of Motown. I mean, we all know Motown, and it's just like hit after hit after hit. But I'm sure there were a lot of songs that just didn't make it, even though you wrote them in an hour, kind of thing.
Well, again, we were reading charts, but I remember one year, for a year solid, I was in 3 songs in the top 10 for a year straight, between Holland Dozier and Holland and Wilson Pickett and Motown and everything. That we were busy. We were busy.
That's just mind blowing. Wow. You must have some nice royalty. Well,
Well,
yeah.
as a studio player, you don't get royalties.
As soon as I
but
started to
I
say
had my
that, right.
albums out. I had Scorpio and all
Oh, right.
that stuff. So, and then Mike Theater and myself produced Rodriguez. I mean, so that whole thing was
Sixto.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that whole thing with the movie and the soundtrack,
yes.
so like having a gold record, we made money off of that.
that's
so
true.
that was cool. It was good.
Yeah, for those that may not know, the documentary, which won the Oscar, right? It was,
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Searching for
was in
Sugar
that.
Man,
Yeah,
Sixto
and-
Rodriguez,
I was in that, and I was in Standing in the Shadows of Motown as well. So
the
that was good.
documentary for that,
Yes,
yeah.
mhm,
Okay, and I have to pause here. I remember, and I posted this on my Facebook yesterday because I was going nuts. I remember a movie, Standing in the Shadows, but there wasn't a documentary. It didn't have all these, that live concert as part of it.
Okay.
I could swear there was a movie like this, and no one could come up with it. It's like, okay, I'm not going crazy. But, other than the documentary, because I know about the documentary, but it's
Right,
like,
sure.
I'm sure I saw this movie. It was just, actors doing the whole story, and it was, the storyline.
It might have been there was a movie by about the Temptations, and they were actors doing that. It might have been that you saw, and
Okay.
that was a movie. Yes.
Okay, maybe. All right.
Yes,
I'll go back and look. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like driving myself nuts. And just thought, okay, Facebook, people will know.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing. Okay. All right. How about we hear another song, Dennis?
Okay. Let's do. By the time I get to Phoenix, this is a song on one of my albums also.
Okay.
Ready? 2, 1.
Wow, wow, wow. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You can just tell. I mean, it's in your blood, obviously, and you're passionate about when you play. I mean, it comes across
Yes.
very easily. Good stuff there. Dennis Coffey with us this morning or this afternoon, I should say, on Behind the Mic. And I'm going to jump to our Pam exam,
Okay.
which are just some random questions.
All right. Whatever it is, I didn't do it.
Yeah, that's what they all say. All right. Have you ever had a frightening moment on stage?
I don't think so. Not that the one time it was a little scary is when I played back in the day. There was like Cobo Arena,
Oh, yeah.
and I was playing as an opening act for the Temptations, and I looked on the stage and like 13,000 people looking at me. That was a little frightening.
When was that?
That was back in 60, probably early 70s, maybe 70, 71.
So the largest crowd you've ever played for?
Yes, that was pretty big.
Yeah, they would be. And, all these people staring at you.
Yeah. I said, whoa, what's this all about?
Did that just fuel you more and like, oh, this is real after you got going and everything?
Well, yeah, then you just do your job, But
Yeah.
it was so you couldn't see their faces. All you could see was just rows and rows of people. You couldn't.
Yeah.
You weren't close enough. They were far enough away where you couldn't really see their faces. So you just got out there and played.
You knew they were listening and
Yes,
into it and everything?
yes.
Yeah. We don't want that one. This is a fill in the blank. I'm really good at blank. I'm really bad at blank.
Wow.
Well, we know you're very good at the guitar, but maybe something else.
Well, I'm really good at getting the job done. Whatever I take on, I make sure that I get it done and just stay on the task until it's done. I'm good with that. I don't. Sometimes I don't have enough patience, if people can't do their jobs, because I have to do my job, so I expect others to do the same.
Well, and as a session player, there must be, if someone's off a little bit, they shouldn't be if they're a session player. That's the first thing.
Yeah,
but-
because they wouldn't last long if
Right,
they
right.
did, because you make a mistake, they got to stop the tape. You wouldn't want to be that guy.
No. Especially at Motown, you had to get it
But
done in an hour.
You bet.
Is there a quote in your life that you live by or think of often?
I don't know if it's a quote. I always felt that it's almost like, be the best that you can be. I mean, it sounds like, that maybe that's an Army slogan, but I was in the 101st Airborne Division, so I guess I can say that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes.
Did you play music when you were in the service?
I did. I was in the 101st, and Jimi Hendrix was in the same time I was in down at Fort Campbell. And so there was a situation down there where the guys in his unit hit his guitar and wouldn't give it back. He got upset. So I had a rhythm guitar player, my buddy Bob, that he got into a bar fight and cut a guy up, so he had to join the airborne or go to prison. So he was my rhythm guitar player. So I saw him knock a guy out for taking cuts in front of us in the chow line, so our guitars were safe. No one ever tried to steal them.
I love it. Let's see here. Do you have a ritual before a performance?
Not really. I'm also, at home I practice a lot, and I've got a thing on my computer, a band in a box thing that I have all the standards on, so I can pretty much have a rehearsal band in my basement, and I practice all the time. So,
Okay. Do you practice with your own stuff or other people's music?
well, what I do is I practice a lot of the standards, and,
Oh, okay.
and because of this computer program, it's like having your own band in your basement, so it's pretty good.
Okay. If they, were standards and they've lasted that long, then there's something there to.
Oh yeah,
to
they're
the-
great songs,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What are some of those that you like to play with?
You had Green Dolphin Street and Summertime, which we did here, and Autumn Leaves, all those great American songbook songs.
Yeah. Cool. Another fill in the blank. I wish I could blank.
I don't know. I'm still running around here having a good time. I don't think most of the things I wanted to do I have done, but then you never know. You're a phone call away from some new adventure or whatever. When I, have gone to Europe and played. I played in London and Paris, and I played in Spain and been in Germany a few times. So you never know in the music business. Somebody could call you up, and then there's a new adventure going on.
Is there anybody that you would love to get a call from that says, "Hey, Dennis, can you join us?"
I've geez, I've worked with, if you work, I work with Ringo Starr, that's one of the Beatles, and I work with Barbara Streisand and all the Motown artists, and out in L.A., Tom Jones, Quincy Jones, everybody else, So God, there's not someone that I just said, geez, I wish I worked with them. I worked with most of the people, I think.
So you're good in that department.
Yeah.
What is, or do you have a system for writing a song?
My system really is to take acoustic guitar and I'll be just horsing around with it in the basement, and then suddenly I'll play something, a chord structure will come out, and I'll say, "Well, that's pretty cool. Let's write a song around it." It's organic. It just shows up. I don't know where it comes from, and then I just
The
write
universe
a
is
song.
talking to you.
It
Dennis.
is. It is. That's what happens. Yes.
And I would imagine from all those years working at Motown, that and I'm still kind of hung up on that 1 hour thing, that a song probably comes easy for you.
Well, it's as if it doesn't, then I'll put the guitar down and do something else that day. But normally, if I'm in a writing situation, I'll just sit down there with the acoustic guitar and start playing some chords and stuff. And then if I get a nice pattern, then maybe I'll record that, and then I'll record a melody over it, and then you have a song.
Yeah, voila.
Yep.
And this might be a tough one to answer because you've worked with so many people and you've done so much in your whole career, but is there a most memorable music moment that you can recall?
I think the real moment was the first session I did at Motown when I did Cloud 9, because I had known, everybody knew in Detroit Motown was here, but I figured they're probably stacked up trying to get in over there, so I just ignored the whole thing and went about my business, and they finally called me, so that's how that got started.
See, and you knew somebody who knew somebody, probably?
Yeah, I ended up being involved in the producer's workshop for Motown for a while, so they put me on a retainer, and Jamerson was leading the band, the bass player, and that was for producers to come up and experiment. And oddly enough, Norman Whitfield came up, and he had a chart on Cloud 9. And so we're running down the intro, and I happened to have a wah-wah pedal, and I put it on there, and he heard that. He says, "That's what I'm looking for." So in 2 weeks, I was doing Cloud 9 for the Temptations.
And didn't that's a great story. I love hearing those kinds of things. The Wow Wow really kind of set the stage for you, really opened the doors for you, didn't it?
I think it did at Motown because I think Norman was the visionary that wanted to get into the psychedelic music. And so what I brought to the table is the Echoplex and the fuzz tone and the wah-wah pedal and all kinds of different special effects, and that's what he was looking for to help get that sound that he was looking for to get into that psychedelic arena.
Yeah. And those sounds, were you looking for something different and you came across these? How did that happen?
I had a friend of mine, Joe Podorczyk, who owned Capitol Music, and every time a new effect would come in or a new pedal would come in, he'd call me and say, "Here, take it and try it. If you like it, buy it. If not, bring it back." So I had access to all the new stuff.
Nice.
So that's what I did.
Oh, that was a gold mine for you.
It was.
Again, you know the right people, and things happen, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome. If you had to share a 15-minute taxi ride with someone, who would that be? And they could be dead or alive at this point, but
Preferably alive.
yeah. But I mean, you could go back, and
They can't have much conversation with a dead person in a taxi cab. That would probably not work too well.
No.
I don't know. It could be anybody. Maybe Lennon and McCartney or something. That would probably
That
be
would
an
be cool.
interesting conversation with both those guys
Oh,
in
yeah.
the cab. That'd be good.
And you not in the middle because you'd be doing this constantly. But
yeah. Stereo.
stereo Lennon McCartney. All right, Dennis, what is your favorite non-music pastime?
I like to go fishing, and I walk in the woods all the time.
Okay.
I work in the woods every day by my house, so I like to be in nature and everything. It's quiet, so that's what I do.
Does that inspire you for songwriting, the quiet?
I don't know if that inspires me, but it just inspires my brain. Kind of, it's calm. You can walk out, and nature is real. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no pretense about nature. It
Yeah.
is what it is,
A lot of people, the surroundings help, they
Sure.
can de-res kind
Yeah,
of thing,
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
You don't get something through, and help their, we already answered that, help with their music.
Sure. Hmm.
I'm trying to find a good one for the last one. What do you think of when you hear the word success?
When I hear the word, it's it's something to achieve. Uh, my success in the music business, when I first started, and people started paying me to do music, I thought, wow, I never thought in my mind that that would be an occupation. But I know I was on the road doing some shows and stuff, and I took my dad with me, and we were at Buddha Records in New York, and they said, how would you like your first gold record? And I says, what do you mean? They said, well, you're almost right there. They said, I can call one distributor and just have them order another 20 copies and you'll have a gold record. So I says, okay. So they did that. And so my dad and me were sitting there, bam, Scorpio's a gold record. It was cool.
Wow.
Very exciting. I mean, that was like success, you know, gold records and stuff.
Well, yeah. And then they give you the gold, actual gold
Yeah, they
record
do.
in the framed
Absolutely. Yeah, you
in
put it on the
everything.
wall. Absolutely.
Very cool. So you have several of those?
I have some of them. Yes, I
Just
do.
a few, he said. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
That's, you know, definitely any artist, you know, they get a gold record that just to look at that every morning, you know, and
Well, that's success. I mean, you
Yeah,
sell a
it's-
million copies of a creative endeavor that
Huge.
you've done.
yeah.
That's a successful feeling, I think.
I would imagine looking at that inspires you to keep going, you know, more.
Well, music's in my soul. I have to keep going because that's who I am. So I'll keep playing as long as I can. You know, I played with Les Paul when he was like 92.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. You know, and I just happened to look down at this next question because you just said, you know, music is in your soul. It's,
Sure.
it's what your life is and everything. But the slightest thing, if time and money didn't matter and you weren't doing the music, would there be something else that you would just love to try or do?
No,
No.
that's
I,
what
I thought that would be the
that's
answer.
that's what I do. You know, and also, you know, when the music business kind of got rough for a while, I had to change what I was doing because there was a period in music where you age out and they throw you out and you can't make money at it. So I ended up working on the assembly line for GM, and I went back to Wayne State and I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and that allowed me to work as a consultant in lean manufacturing at Ford. So I made a living anyways.
You know, you do what you got to do.
Absolutely. I raised 5 kids. You can't, you know, if you don't do that, you'll all be starving.
Well, you know, and it's interesting that, you know, there is at a point, you know, there's going to be a lull and no matter what you're doing.
That's right,
There's
yes.
going to be. So you have to figure out, how can I make this work? You going into, you know, one of the big three was,
Well, it was
Probably-
good because Wayne State, you know, getting those 2 college degrees, a master's and a bachelor's, that was the ticket to ride. So I figured, okay, let's ride this one out and see what happens.
about how old were you at this point?
Jeez, I think I started working on the assembly line. I was like 43 or something. I think the supervisor in there thought I was going to drop dead on his line. They didn't realize I was airborne. We don't drop dead on anybody's line.
And I would imagine, though, I mean, and I don't know exactly what you were doing and what, you know, piece of equipment you were working with.
Transmissions, yes.
But you know, some of those you got to be careful. Your hands can get.
Well,
know.
I was doing one job that was very dangerous on the hands, and somebody, a repair guy, told the supervisor, he's a guitar player, you need to change his job or you'll mess up his hands for life. So they did. That was very nice of them.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yeah, it would have been very bad.
Phew, thank you to whoever said that. And you know,
Well, Django Reinhardt played missing a couple fingers, so you can get past it, but I didn't want to go that route.
yeah, you know, relearn the whole thing.
Oh,
oh my
geez,
gosh,
that'd
that
been
would
hard.
be yeah. Oh my.
Yep.
How about another song, Dennis?
Okay.
And guys,
Yeah, let's do, I'm going to do a song by the Jazz Crusaders, Put It Where You Want It. I had a chance to work with all those guys out at Mo West, and I worked with Larry Carlton and Les Paul at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we'll do this thing by the Crusaders. 2.
awesome.
Thank
Just
you.
watching you on the guitar is like pro for sure. I mean, we obviously knew that, but
Having fun.
having fun, that is for sure. Brand new CD out, Down by the River.
Yes.
This is available everywhere, I would
Yes,
imagine.
it is, yes.
Okay, and you've got the big Jazz Fest coming up Labor Day.
I do, yes.
And you're on the 31st.
Right.
That's Saturday. So
Okay.
just you can Google Detroit Jazz Fest.
2 p.m.
2
2
okay,
p.m.
2 p.m.
Absolute Pier waterfront stage.
That's right. There you go.
Oh, he's got it down for you.
The guys in my band cover with me when I can't cover for myself. Good team we got out here.
So
Thanks
you've got
to these guys.
again the names you are.
Jallo Jacate.
Sean McDonald.
Okay, very good. The trio, Dennis Coffey Trio.
Yes.
All right. So with those two, anything else? I mean, that's a lot. You got this big event coming up and your new CD. Anything else you're in the works?
Don't know till I get the phone call.
Every Tuesday.
That's it. Every Tuesday at the Northern
Oh,
Lights
yes,
Lounge
yes.
On Baltimore between 2nd and 3rd in Midtown Detroit.
Okay.
Been there 11 years. 8
8
p.m. to
p.m.
11. I'd like to thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
I know it's been a while. I had you on another show, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so much fun. I remember, and it's like, okay, glad to get you back in here. So, and a good reason with this new album out,
Yes.
and everybody can find you just DennisCoffey.com. I think it is.
Dennis Coffey, SITE.com is my site, my
Site,
website.
Dennis Coffey
Yes.
site. Is there another Dennis Coffey?
I don't know, but
Oh.
also I have the book out, Guitars, Bars, and Motown Superstars,
I didn't
that
know
I
that.
wrote myself. It's on the University of Michigan Press. That's available too.
Okay, that's been out a few years.
It's been out a few years,
Yeah.
and it was out in Europe first. You
Okay.
know, and then I got it out here.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep.
How'd I miss that? Go through it. Very cool. So all this stuff, his music, his book, where he's playing, follow him, and just amazing stuff. So Dennis Coffey, thank you so much for coming in
Thank
here
you.
and playing. You guys, the three of you together, is just amazing. Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Compliment each other. Where the star here, he knows what he's doing, but you guys add a lot to that. So.
Well, so absolutely, they're the team, part of the
Yeah.
team to make me look good.
How long you guys been together? How long's
Been
the
a while
trio?
now.
Been a
Yeah,
couple
a few
okay.
years.
Okay.
Yeah. hmm
Okay, awesome.
And
Well,
I'd like to thank Michael Salaka at Northern Lights Lounge for keeping me there for 11 years.
yes, until that other call comes in.
Well, that's my home base. I'll always stay there. The other call won't get me out of there. I'll stay
There you
there.
go. It's been said.
That'll just be a different day.
Different day. It'll be a different day. You're right.
Yeah. Right. Well, again, thank you so much. It's been amazing. The music sounds fantastic, and the legend that you are here in Detroit with the guitar playing. So, again, thank you so much, Dennis
Thank you.
Coffey, on this edition of Behind the Mic. And thanks to all of you out there watching. Do appreciate that and tuning in our new day and time here from our beautiful MusicTown studios. I'm Pam Rossi. Have a great week.